This is part 3 of 3 on Communities for a Cure. In this segment, I'll talk about broader opportunities for the platform. Just to summarize, if someone has a disease, they have their problem, it's my problem at that point. Most people with the disease look for like individuals, and that becomes our problem. They form a group. They are our support network. But as that group links with an advocate, they then have a communication bridge that allows for sustainable business models to be developed. There is residual value in the group and their ability to communicate with interested parties. I mentioned that community success relies on self-interest. Patients want to get better. Best content from the advocate, so best practice. And then a technology layer that allows this content to be given to the participants as well as to be reported in a way that is meaningful for those who want to have a conversation with the community. Enrollment, engagement, and communication make up the cornerstones for an effective system. Enrollment is viral and self-reported. The engagement is what kinds of things does the community want to come back again and again, and most of these are personalized services based on the information given, and then communication, which allows for continued improvement in what is provided to the community. Patients are not concerned so much with their healthcare or health records, but rather their ecosystem. For true engagement, one wants to include social services, researchers, payers, caregivers, all the actors that would be involved in maintaining the patient's wellness in one place rather than in siloed repositories. Although we are focused predominantly on the patients in these self-reported registries, there is an opportunity for an information stream. So not only do patients, but also nurses and physicians have an opportunity to contribute to this information stream. This data becomes information with an active reporting layer. Reporting and information then drives actions, which then can modify data gathering. So let's talk a little bit about opportunities for Communities for a Cure, and I'll focus on 3 areas in particular. One is the care continuum, the second being disease management, and then the third is anonymous surveillance. So why would an industry partner want to participate with these Communities for a Cure? And of course, there's really 3 groups that need to have all of their interests aligned: patients, the advocate, and pharma or researchers. So of course we've covered why a patient would want to participate. This allows a level of personalized health focused on an ecosystem and more than health per se. This allows the patient an opportunity to collaborate in finding a cure for their own disease, and we all want to find a community of patients like us. The advocate, of course, is able to improve care and education. They have a much further reach into their community. They can extend their brand and in fact enable research by bringing patients and researchers together. Pharma also wants to reach the same community. They have interest both in the research and marketing space, and they're looking for a lower cost of ownership for things that they are already doing. They're already looking for people with particular diseases to ask them questions. The Communities for Cure represent an opportunity for pharma to partner. In fact, the communities represent a renewable resource of both technology and patients for marketing and research endeavors. So really what you have is the advocacy acting, in a sense, as a form of CRO. The Communities for a Cure can provide not only patients, but also research platforms for research and marketing solutions. Oftentimes these are separated in practice today, where clinical and study platforms are kept separate. This is often a barrier to entry where many caregivers resist participation in studies because of the dual entry. The Communities for a Cure provide an opportunity for enrollment, a study, and then follow-up with the same community, completing the care continuum. One can further leverage Microsoft's effort into a real-like state where they're aggregating different healthcare repositories. Microsoft is spending a considerable effort providing information back to patients through HealthVault. By leveraging HealthVault, these Communities for a Cure registries can further aggregate additional data repositories so that healthcare records can be brought to bear on particular disease entities. Bluetooth devices such as glucometers, scales, and blood pressure cuffs can also be brought on board through Health Vault. This is technology that they are developing, which allows for repeated aggregation of these metrics to continue to follow these patients. There is a lot of emphasis in today's world on a personal health record. Unfortunately, much of this is around aggregating current repositories, which are often very broad EMRs. However, patients don't usually come to medicine broadly interested in medicine. They come with a particular problem. So as you can see here, different patients have different problems, and really a personal health record is chapters in a book that matter to the patient. They define particular ecosystems, often disease-centric for that patient, and at that point you truly get engagement. The Communities for a Cure are in fact a version of this, the chapter in this book, and one could easily envision the future being multiple Communities for a Cure that you enroll based on your profile. So the patient that has CSF and asthma may be involved in both of those communities, collecting information that is relevant to those diseases. We can see that this can extend to more of a disease management platform. As I mentioned in the earlier presentation, the platform allows for an OnStar for your health. So let me give you an example. So a patient is being monitored for congestive heart failure. The easiest way to monitor for that is to check their weight on a repeated basis. The patient stands on his Bluetooth scale every other day, and the weight is uploaded into his platform. If the patient forgets to stand on the scale, he's sent a reminder via email, text that says, hey, you forgot to stand on the scale, I need your weight. If he repeatedly forgets to stand on the scale, this reminder could be escalated to his identified care provider, who then intervenes, calls the patient and asks, are you all right? We haven't gotten your weight in the last few days. We certainly need to have this. Much of the effort in healthcare is centered on clinics and hospital. These disease management platforms offer an in-between state, effectively an OnStar for your health. Just as OnStar watches over your car when you're not at the mechanic, these platforms can be leveraged to keep the patient from getting into trouble. I also called out this concept of surveillance, and I would just like to reemphasize that the Communities for Cure don't need to know your name or your address. You can be completely anonymous to the platform. However, there can be an exchange of information relative to a particular disease that can help the patient stay well. So you may enter the platform as bugoosebunny@yahoo.com as long as there is a way to communicate back to you relevant care and education can be given through the disease management platform. In this way, surveillance can be anonymous. This is particularly important in particular diseases where there may be a stigma attached with that disease, and patients are relatively resistant to being identified as having that disease. So in summary, today's healthcare is often private, geographic, fragmented, with very slow adoption. The vision we have tried to portray is one that's collaborative and interoperable. Data becomes information, which allows for outcomes-driven research and outcomes-driven care. We have an 8-year experience now at the Barrow with something close to 50,000 participants, which allow for sustainable business models. I would like to emphasize that these should be an ecosystem. Patients don't care so much about their records, but their wellness. National advocacies have an opportunity to sit in the middle and be a shield, if you will, for the patients, between the patient and those who are interested in helping the patient. The advocate can, in fact, protect the patient's security in this process. I want to thank you for your time.